The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman. It's Monday, and that means it's time for another edition of Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. If you'd like to join the show, you can send me an email at blackfocusradio@gmail.com. And don't forget, we're on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And don't forget, when you're out on the Facebook page, like, share, and definitely subscribe. There are so many things going on, and we're trying to keep you abreast of all of them. So we need you to spread the word. Tell a friend, tell your mama, daddy, sister, brother, cousin, your dog, anybody who can hit the button that says subscribe as we move forward to 1,000 subscribers. So got a lot of stuff to talk about today. And don't forget, how could I forget? Don't forget, I'm part of a one-man campaign to get rid of the N-word. So, you know what I like to say? Just don't say it, okay? Let's get rid of that word. It's time for it to go. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, okay? So, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, of course. I'm going to be totally honest with you. This may be the first time that the entire show is about one subject. Okay? So just get prepared for that. A lot of stuff to talk about. Of course, we've got Black Facts that's going to be coming up. What we must do at the end of the show. And just to give you an idea of what we're going to talk about today, of course, the Charlie Kirk shooting. We can't go without talking about that, of course. We're going to give you some updates, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm glad that the show is airing today because this gave me an opportunity to sit back and just simply listen to some of the craziness that's been going on. And we're going to expose a lot of that today, okay? Because we're not honoring a racist, okay? So just letting you know. So if you're a little sensitive, you may not want to listen to this show because we are pulling no punches as it relates to this Charlie Kirk thing. Okay? We're pulling no punches at all. So just kind of get ready. All right? We're also going to give you an update on the Epstein situation. We're going to interweave that into the show because in a weird kind of way, it doesn't have anything to do with it. We also want to talk a little bit today about Israel bombing a U.S. ally. And the question that I had after I got some details, just listening to the reports, did Donald Trump set up Hamas negotiators to be killed by Israel? I don't know if he did or didn't, but it certainly is peculiar. And by the way, are there ties to the Israeli Mossad, child sex rings, and Jeffrey Epstein? And is that why Donald Trump is not putting his thumb on Israel? We're going to interweave all of that stuff in today's show. Okay? Wow, it's crazy, man. I know. But we warned you. But before we can do anything, we have to do Black Facts. So let's do that right now.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
Okay, today's Black Fact will be administered by me. Of course, we're doing a lot more Black Facts written and, of course, live. So this is going to be a live Black Fact. So I want to take you back to, let's see. I want to take you back to February 21st, 1965. That was the date that Malcolm X was assassinated. He left behind, 5 children? He was killed, and by the way, a lot of people don't know that Malcolm X, when he was killed, one of the people that was trying to stop the bleeding, although he had been shot multiple times, one of those people was trying to stop the bleeding was an FBI agent who had infiltrated Malcolm X's hierarchy, his security team. Trusted man, by the way. Remember, it was February 21st, 1965. And I want to remind you also about Medgar Evers. Medgar Evers was killed June 12th, 1963. He leaves 3 children. There's something all of these men have in common, sans the assassination. And then I want to point you to Dr. Martin Luther King. Y'all all know Martin. Y'all know those other guys too, right? Martin Luther King was killed April 4th, 1968. He left behind 4 children. Okay? Those are children that he never got to see grow up. Just like Medgar and just like Malcolm. And then I want to point you to Fred Hampton. He was assassinated on December 4th, 1969. Okay? He left behind 1 child. And by the way, when he was assassinated, his pregnant wife was laying in the bed beside him while they were shooting him to death. You said they? Yeah, the Chicago police along with the FBI. Okay? You getting what I'm saying here? By the way, one of the things other than the assassination, because all 4 of those men were assassinated. Well, before I go on, let me continue. I got one more. I'm going to read something. And I've talked about this woman often. On May 19th, 1918, a white mob from Brooks County, Georgia, lynched Mary Turner, a black woman who was 8 months pregnant, at Folsom Bridge, 16 miles north of Valdosta, for speaking publicly against the mob of her husband the day before. The mob bound her feet, hanged her from a tree with her head facing down, threw gasoline on her, and burned the clothes off of her body. Miss Turner was still alive when the mob took a large butcher knife to her abdomen, cutting the unborn baby from her body. When the baby fell from Mary Turner, a member of the mob crushed the crying baby's head with his foot. The mob then riddled Mary Turner's body with hundreds of bullets, killing her. Mary Turner's husband, Hayes Turner, had been lynched the day before. Hayes Turner was accused of being an accomplice in a killing of a notorious white farmer, Hampton Smith, who was known for his abuse of black farm workers. Mr. Smith would bail black people accused of petty crimes out of jail and then require them to work off the fine at his farm. Sidney Johnson, a black man working to pay a legal fee for rolling dice, confessed to killing Mr. Smith during a quarrel about being overworked. Police officers killed Mr. Johnson in a shootout. When news reached the white community, Mr. Turner and other black farm workers who had previously been accused by Mr. Smith were targeted and accused of a conspiracy. Many black people during this time were lynched based on mere accusations of murder against white people. The same was true here, as at least 7 confirmed black individuals were lynched by the white mob in response to Hampton Smith's death, inflicting community-wide racial terror and violence. Mrs. Turner, grieving, and spoke out against her husband's death, promising to take legal action. Enraged by this, the white mob made an example out of Mary Turner, despite having no reason to fear actual legal repercussions from her promise, as black people at the time were not afforded the judicial process. The white mob lynched Mary Turner and her unborn child to maintain white supremacy and silence her and communicate to the black community that no dissent from the mob was, no dissent from the racial order would ever be tolerated. No member of the mob was ever held accountable for the lynching of Mary Turner and her unborn baby. The grotesque slaughter of a black woman 8 months pregnant reveals a great deal about the way in which black women were dehumanized with impunity. You follow me yet? So when I hear people complaining about someone leaving or dying because their children will never get to see them grow up, I can go ad infinitum about black people who were murdered by white mobs and white people. That era that I just described in 1918, May 19th, was part of what was called the Red Summer. We're talking history now. This is the same history that they don't want you to talk about, because I find it interesting that there are people who are protesting against violence has a history of violence. So that's what this Black Fact is about today. See, I can tell you about the Red Summer. I can tell you about what happened in Tulsa, in Colfax, in Elaine, Arkansas. I can tell you what happened to John Smith in Little Rock, Arkansas, on 9th Street, where his body was dismembered, hung up on 9th and Broadway, and set afire. They pulled his arms off, and white supremacist was directing traffic with his burnt arms and legs. No one cried about John Smith. No one cried about his children, if he had any. I had the pleasure of meeting some of his family who had moved away from Arkansas back in the 1920s. It was a pleasure to talk to them and relay their story right here on Black Focus Radio. But the other thing was, it was disturbing. Racial violence. It's been part of the American lexicon. It's part of her history. It was part of her history when the first slaves arrived on shore in 1619 and the very peculiar institution of slavery began. It was part of our founding fathers. It was part of the birth of this nation. So those children that were stolen, those children that were raped, those children that lost their parents simply because they were black, I didn't hear anybody crying for them. Why? As a matter of fact, I didn't hear anybody crying for the children who were shot in their schools simply trying to get an education. I'm kind of all cried out, I guess, maybe. But see, here's the problem that I have. And I'm going to bring this home, so you're going to need to watch the rest of the show or listen to the rest of the show. Because it's really beginning to bother me, and we're trying to normalize behavior that has been part of the American lexicon since its inception. It's been part of its birth. It is the ugly sore. And what I have told you over and over again is that I do not try to get rid of racism. I don't go to marches. I don't want to go to speeches, because it is not the black man's problem. We are affected by that evil institution, but we didn't create it. And we should no longer be trying to get rid of it. And the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk shooting is a classic example of that. And we're going to examine that today. We're going to go deep into it today, because it points us in a direction of, unfortunately, what I've been saying, what many people have been saying, is that white supremacy is illogical. By the way, those people that I talked about, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton, Mary Turner, other than being assassinated or murdered, they had one other thing in common. Do you know what that is? Well, let me tell you what it is. They were fighting for peace. They were fighting for equality. They were not trying to attack anyone. They were just simply saying, treat me like a human being. They were not sowing seeds of hate. They were not sowing seeds of discontent. They were not trying to be violent. Of course, they were talking about defending themselves and black people. I often say that the Black Panther Party was totally eliminated for simply trying to defend black people. Many of their followers were killed, they were jailed. But the Ku Klux Klan lives on today. And I'm going to give you an example of it. And it is right in our faces. And that's our black fact for today.
Keep listening to Black Focus Radio for more dynamic black facts, our culture, our history, our people on joynetradio.com.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to get deeper into this Charlie Kirk thing coming up here in just a few minutes. It is very interesting that this has occurred. There are so many underlying stories that need to be talked about. We're going to try to examine as many as possible. I will tell you that this will be the first time that my entire show will probably be dedicated to all of this is going to play into this Charlie Kirk thing today. All right. And I'm happy by the fact that I've had a few days to sit back and see how things have played out. And it is very, very interesting. From the incompetency of the FBI director to some of the underlying things that the governor said, all of this stuff. And you can go out to my Facebook page and look at some of the stuff that I posted. I'm going to get into some of that today as well. It's just amazing to me. So stick and stay. We're going to take our first break. You're listening to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at joynetradio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to joynetradio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word heard about joinnedradio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at joinnedradio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on joinnedradio.com. David W. Coleman here for Coleman's Dynamic Rib Rub and Rib Nuts. Go to ribrub.com, that's RIBBRUBB.com right now, and stock up on the best dry marinades for baking, grilling, and smoking your favorite meats. 3 great flavors, hot and spicy, original, and scorching. Try them at your next cookout and you will shout, bake it, grill it, shake it, oh yeah! Only one place to get Coleman's Dynamic products, that's ribrub.com. Easy to order, and I'll ship direct to you or to friends and family anywhere in the United States. While on the site, be sure to check out other great items, especially the rib nuts. Who'd have thunk it? Peanuts sauteed in a barbecue marinade? That's just crazy good. Get them at ribrub.com right now, along with other great recipes. That's ribrub.com. If you don't like my rib rub or rib nuts, I'll give you money back. Do it today. That's Coleman's Dynamic Products at ribrub.com.
All right, welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. If you'd like to join the show, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on Facebook. We certainly could use your support along those lines. And make sure you tell somebody. So, by now you all have heard about the murder, and I will say it is a murder, of Charlie Kirk. Okay? Those of you who don't know Charlie Kirk was, and I'm just not going to rationalize it at all. Charlie Kirk was a racist. Let's just be clear. Charlie Kirk, and we'll talk about some of the things that he said today, but Charlie Kirk was a racist. He talked about, he downgraded anybody that wasn't white. And I find it fascinating that there are a lot of people online who are taking heat because they are calling Charlie Kirk what he was, a racist. If you don't know, well, you've been under a rock, but he was at Utah Valley University in Utah, and he was shot and killed by a white person. Hello? And after he was shot and killed, there was all kinds of outpouring of sympathy and so on and so forth to this racist. Now, let me take you back, and you may not realize these names, but David Duke, Tom Metzger, all of those people were white supremacists. And I asked the question the day of the shooting, and I just made one post. Okay? And that one post was, if I'm walking down the street and I see the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, a la Tom Metzger, a la David Duke, a la Byron De La Beckwith, a la Jesse Helms, and hey, a la George Wallace, a la Bull Connor, a la any of those police officers who turned water hoses on students on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, or sick dogs on them on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, or any of those white students who participated in harassing the Little Rock Nine. If any of them are on a platform with a rope around their neck, am I to feel sorry for them? No, I'm not. Now, I talked to an older lady a couple of days ago, and one of the things that she said was she wouldn't feel sorry for them, but she would have something because they were human. And I get that. I understand that. But I'm sorry. I cannot feel sorry for anybody who delighted in my demise or people who looked at me at my demise. You know, the quote from James Baldwin is profound. And we're going to get in that in just a moment, because it's amazing how people forget that someone who wants, it's like this. If I know that you're coming for me, do I wait till you come or do I get prepared for your arrival? You get this, right? Here's another example. I'm going to describe something to you. It's round, it's red, it grows on a tree, and it's edible. What is it? It's an apple, right? Let me make another description for you. It has white feathers, it swims, it has red feet, and a bill. What is it? And it goes quack. What is it? It's a duck, right? It's a duck. Let me describe something else for you. It moves on a track and it says choo choo. What is it? It's a train. If I talk down on other races of people, if I call them low IQ, if I wish them dead, if I think anything that they do is poor quality, if I call them lazy, if I rejoice in the fact that their children are dying in the streets, what am I? A racist. And that's what Charlie Kirk was, a racist. That old saying, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So spare me your righteous indignation as it relates to how I feel about a racist who is dead. Now, let me go back to the black fact in case you missed it. And if you did, please go out to the Facebook page or the YouTube page and go back to the beginning. I gave you 5 names. I gave you 5 names. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Fred Hampton, and Mary Turner. And each one of those people had children, and their lives were cut short because of racism. The same racism that Charlie Kirk was spewing. Hello? Talk to me. The same racism that Charlie Kirk was spewing. Their lives were cut short. In fact, there are black lives that, did he call the Black Lives Movement and George Floyd scum? You know, see, Charlie Kirk got to go fast. George Floyd, it took 9 minutes for him to die. George Floyd was begging for his life. He was calling his mother. Oh, by the way, George Floyd had children. You remember what I said about Mary Turner, right? Mary Turner had her child sliced out of her belly while she was on fire, and the child hit the pavement, and they stomped the child to death as she watched being hanged upside down. Hello? They had children. So I don't feel sorry about Charlie Kirk being dead, and his children will never get a chance to see him grow up. What about Breonna Taylor, who was shot dead? Did you forget about her? I could go on and on. There's a list of men. There's a list of people who were killed by police, some who had their children in their presence. And I didn't hear any of you white supremacists talking about their children. In fact, I don't hear any of you gun nut white supremacists talking about children, because children are being killed every day in America. So are you only concerned about Charlie Kirk's children? Or are you concerned about all children? Because see, the children that are being killed, those children, they're being killed on a regular basis. Let me just give you an example. In 2025 alone, there's been 357 mass shootings. Okay? Mass shootings is defined as a single outburst of violence in which 4 or more people are shot. This is not the same as mass murder as defined by the FBI. 357. The majority of them were at school. So, since we're talking about children, Charlie Kirk, and we're going to get to some of the things that you said. But see, we're not normalizing racism. And we're going to get to the media today as well, because we're not normalizing racism. Hello? But since we're talking about children, did you know on the very same day that Charlie Kirk was shot and killed, that in Colorado, there was another mass shooting? 2 injured. The shooter ends up killing himself. By the way, he was 16 years old. And guess what? Let me just read something to you. A teenager suspected in the shooting attack at a suburban Denver high school that left 2 students in critical condition appeared fascinated with previous mass shootings, including Columbine, and expressed neo-Nazi views online. Since December, Desmond Howard, 16, had been active on an online forum where users watched videos of killings and violence mixed in with content of white supremacism and anti-Semitism. Hello? 16, white male. We're going to get to the shooter here in a little bit too. Hello? You follow me yet? Oh, that shooting didn't get any airtime because I followed the news all day of the Kirk shooting. I just happened to be watching the news. Well, actually, I was listening to it in my car. And they broke in. Charlie Kirk has been shot at UVU. At the same time, there had been a shooting that was at this school. Another shooting. Didn't hear anything about that until later that afternoon. But every news station had taken up this shooting about Charlie Kirk as if he was some presidential dignitary. And Charlie Kirk was a racist. No one cared about those kids in Denver. Oh, and by the way, the shooter was a white supremacist. Don't care if he was 16. He was a white supremacist. You follow me yet? Here's my point about the school and the kids. You need to see for a very long time, Democrats have been trying to do something about gun violence. It is at an all-time high because of the prevalence of guns. There are more guns in America than there are actual Americans. Kids should not have access to guns. We're getting to the Kirk shooter here in a moment. Kids should not have access to guns. Where did he get this gun from? Did he buy it on the streets? Oh, by the way, you do realize that, see, Republicans don't really care. Republicans don't really care about black people, because long as the killings is going on in the inner city, they don't care. Oh, they say, well, wait a minute. Trump done called in the National Guard in Memphis and Chicago, and you don't give a damn about those black people, because if you did, you'd do things to stop the poverty. There are things that causes criminal behavior, and it is not simply because you're one color or the other, unless you have a history of doing that, and that history is bequeathed upon the European race. So if you want to solve the problem of gun violence in the inner city, that means jobs. You know, right here in Baltimore, there used to be a program that I grew up with, what was called OIC. And when you were in summer school, while you were going to school, I think you had to be at least in the 8th grade, you could get a job. And some of those jobs was, to be totally honest, cleaning up parks, cutting down trees, mowing lawn. It was different. Some people got jobs in offices. It just depends. Local businesses would contact OIC. We're going to have X amount of summer jobs for young people. You could go in and be intern and you would be paid for it. That's what happened here in Baltimore. That helped cut down on some of the crime here in Baltimore. See, there are things that are tried and true that will help stop crime. But see, Republicans don't want to do that. They want to pretend like they're concerned about crime. These are the same people who condone the January 6th riot. These are the same people who support a president who was part of and initiated the January 6th riots. They don't really give a damn about crime. The sad thing about it is the Democrats don't have a good message on crime. That's the problem. So you want to save these kids? So why are you warehousing kids when they get in trouble as opposed to giving them legitimate counseling, maybe some job training, so when they come out, they will be able to have a job, as opposed to contributing to your recidivism rate? You don't care about these kids. That's why those 357 mass shootings, you don't care about those, because what Charlie Kirk said, some people have to be sacrificed for the Second Amendment. Charlie lived by his words and he died by his words. And anyone who wants to try and make that an issue because I said it, you are welcome to come on this show and debate me. Why? And how was Charlie Kirk a hero? Charlie Kirk profited from his racism. You all remember the woman who called the little black kid an N-word? And you people sent her thousands of dollars. Y'all remember that? You people. You all made her almost a millionaire because she called a black kid the N-word and was harassing that kid. What that tells me is if it was one of you who I'm talking about, had you seen that kid being abused or picked up off the street or trafficked, you would have said nothing. You made that woman almost a millionaire by setting up money and sending it to her. You don't care about children, or you don't care about black children. I think part of the reason that you're concerned about this Epstein thing is because those were white girls. We know you don't care about black girls because there are thousands of black girls who go missing all the time and their cases go cold. Don't get mad at me. I'm just making a point here. And the point is that those of you out there who are upset and mad at people because they are voicing their rightful opinion, their First Amendment right, just as Charlie Kirk did. You're mad at them because they're voicing their opinions about Kirk and his words. And you're concerned about Charlie Kirk's children. And my whole point to the Black Fact and this segment of the show was to make a point, and that point is this. Spare me with your sobs and cries and moans that his children will not grow up with a father. Because guess what? All of those people that I named and unnamed, and all of these men who are being convicted of petty crimes and who are spending life in prison, their children are growing up without their father. So that's not gonna sway me at all. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, I want to examine the media. Top of the hour, we're going to go into some of the things that Kirk said. But I want to examine the media when I come back. You're listening to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Barbecue season is here and you're still using that 99-cent goop full of chemical derivatives and high fructose corn syrup for your sauce? Stop, please. Get to ribrub.com now and save your next cookout with an array of all natural rubs and sauces. Start with the Dynamic Rib Dust for seasoning and the Dynamic Rib Rub for flavor, and top off your grilled or smoked masterpiece with Dynamic Rib Juice. Don't forget the Dynamic Pepper Juice for just the right kick for those chicken wings. One other thing, you've got to try the delectably delicious Dynamic Rib Nuts. Can't decide? Order a Dynamic gift box and satisfy all of your cravings. Come on, give me your hand and let me take you to barbecue land at ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, and we'll show you how to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. If you'd like to join the show, don't forget to go out, like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. Would greatly appreciate it. So, we're talking about the Charlie Kirk situation, and there are all kinds of tentacles that apply to this. We spent the last segment talking about caring about children, because we know that you people who are whining about Charlie Kirk's children, you don't care about black children, so why should black people? It's kind of like the Hispanics who are upset, and some of the other ethnic groups are upset when black people decided to opt out of these protests against Donald Trump and your marches and so on and so forth. You should be out here. Well, we told y'all, okay? So why would I be concerned about that situation with Charlie Kirk? Go back and listen to that part of the show. You'll understand what I'm saying here, all right? And I know you think I'm probably being cold. Look, I've told you, if you've listened to this show, I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm a human being, and I have human emotions. Unfortunately, Charlie Kirk didn't view me as a human being. You know, James Baldwin, one of my favorite quotes about James Baldwin, it goes like this: we can disagree and still love one another unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and my right to exist. Charlie Kirk did not believe that. Charlie Kirk did not, if he would have heard that quote by James Baldwin, he disagreed, not only in his words, but in his actions. So I'm a little offended that someone would try to rationalize and normalize his racism and try to call him some type of hero, because he was far from being a hero. He divided this country. He spoke ill of this country, as does Donald Trump, who was one of his best buds. He made millions of dollars off of preaching hate. And the media, as I went through different media and I watched media throughout the day and continue to listen and watch how they're trying to make this man a hero. And if I can just pause a moment, this is why we need supported black media, because even the black folks on these media channels are trying to pretend like poor Charlie Kirk and this, that, and the other, when in fact, this was the same man who would have rather not see them on those media channels, who, regardless of his lack of educational background, still thought a man who had a doctorate, a woman who was a Supreme Court justice, was still intellectually lower than he was. And the local media is trying to normalize racism. That's the bottom line on this. As I said earlier in the show, Charlie Kirk was an equivalent to me of a Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. The only difference in him, the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan wore a sheet over their heads. Charlie Kirk walked around in a suit and a tie. He went to college campuses and he enthralled, and this is the word I heard from one of these local people. Well, no, it wasn't local, one of national commentators. He enthralled the college community. He went to the college community and dared to debate. Here's the same guy who didn't even know that Egypt was in Africa and the pyramids were built by Africans. But he had somehow or another this Svengali effect on people like Donald Trump. Maybe that's why they like him. But see, Charlie Kirk was that person that said things white people been wanting to say for years. I told you that DEI and woke was nothing more than a substitute for the N-word. That's all it was. They took pleasure in saying that. So did Charlie Kirk. And the media now wants us to normalize this. Everybody comes on one of the shows. Let me state unequivocally that I am against violence, political violence. Remember back at the beginning of the show, I gave you 5 black people who were victims of political violence and no one gave a damn about their children. Y'all remember that? I did that from a historical perspective. That's why I went all the way back to 1918 with Mary Turner, because I wanted to show you that that was part of the American psyche, the American DNA. You've always accepted political violence. And long as it happened to black people, you were okay with it. Remember, those people were fighting for just to be equal. Those people were fighting just to be able to walk down the street safely without being accosted by a mob, or to sit at a lunch counter, or not to go in the back door. They were fighting for equality, something that this nation promised in the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. That's all they wanted. Charlie Kirk was against all of that. And you're going to tell me that I'm going to feel sorry for him and the local media is going to paint this guy as some type of martyr? Y'all are out your rabbit-ass minds. I say rabbit-ass minds because that's what a rabbit is. He's got a little mind and all he knows is survival, and he eats and poops. That's it. It's crazy that the local media, and I just got but I wanted to hear. Not one time I listened to ABC. I listened to MSNBC. I listened to CBS. And yes, I listened to Fox, which was probably the most horrific. No, not probably. It was. I listened to them all periodically because I wanted to see how they wanted to paint this. Oh, Charlie went to college campuses and the students, 3,000 students showed up. And they were there because they wanted to see Charlie Kirk. And they, you know, every time I saw him in a debate, particularly with Dean Withers ate his lunch. I just told you that he didn't know that the Egyptian pyramids were in Egypt, and he didn't know Egypt was in Africa, and he didn't know that those pyramids were built by black people. If you doubt me, go out and watch Roland Martin. You say, well, Dave, why aren't you playing the tape? I'm not playing a racist on this show. Some people would do it. That's what you do. That's fine. There's plenty of stuff on my wall where you can see what he said. But this show was about explanation. This show was about who he was. Roland told him, you know black people built the pyramids, right? No, they didn't. The pyramids are in Egypt. Exactly. Where is Egypt? In Africa. By the way, a feat that still cannot be duplicated today. Today. Hello. And by the way, they don't have all these fancy cranes and stuff like that. How did they build those things? Good question. This was Charlie Kirk. And the media is trying all of a sudden now, because see, what you don't realize is that there are a lot of white supremacists in the Trump administration, inside our government. If you all don't realize that the Heritage Foundation is a racist organization, go back and look at their history, and then simply look at this Project 2025. They are a racist organization. These people are all through the Trump administration. And by the way, media is afraid of Donald Trump. So yeah, they will carry his water because no one is I'm telling you, man, as I sat and listened, I didn't hear any of these people. These so-called, even the liberal stations, I didn't hear any of these people harp on the fact that he was a racist. He was not a hero. He's not a martyr. This is why we need black media. This is why we need black independent media. So we can tell the story the way it should be told. Not based on someone's opinion, but based on fact. And that's what we do here on Black Focus Radio. Charlie Kirk was a racist, and I am appalled that the local, national, and international media is trying to paint this guy as some type of superhero because he was a racist. You're lowering the flags at half-staff for a racist. This is no more than giving statues to Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis and some of the Confederates, and going back and renaming these bases where black people have fought and died for America, and naming these bases after racists. After white people who didn't want black people to be equal. They looked at them as 3/5 of a man. Hello? Charlie Kirk was no hero. That's the theme of this story. And we're not going to let you rewrite history. And we're not going to let the stain that he has put up on America disappear. Because you feel sorry. How ridiculous. We're going to take a break. It's the top of the hour. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the shooter. Back in a moment. You're listening to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Barbecue season is here, and you're still using that 99-cent goop full of chemical derivatives and high fructose corn syrup for your sauce? Stop, please. Get to ribrub.com now and save your next cookout with an array of all-natural rubs and sauces. Start with the Dynamic Rib Dust for seasoning and the Dynamic Rib Rub for flavor, and top off your grilled or smoked masterpiece with Dynamic Rib Juice. Don't forget the Dynamic Pepper Juice for just the right kick for those chicken wings. One other thing, you've got to try the delectably delicious Dynamic Rib Nuts. Can't decide? Order a Dynamic gift box and satisfy all of your cravings. Come on, give me your hand and let me take you to barbecue land at ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, and we'll show you how to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah.
Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at joynetradio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to joynetradio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word about joynetradio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event, or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at joynetradio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on joynetradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
Welcome back to the second hour of Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. If you would like to join the show, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And while you're out there on YouTube, hey, make sure you tell a friend and all that other stuff. You can get all of our shows out there on YouTube. We've got an entire channel of shows from yesteryear past. So if you want to think, well, you know, Dave, he ain't like that. He wasn't like that 2 years ago. No, Dave has always been like this, straightforward and to the point. Also, don't forget to join the one-man army to get rid of the N-word. Let's abolish it. Let's get rid of it. You know, that word that Charlie Kirk liked to use among his friends, I'm sure. Yeah, that word. Let's get rid of it. All right? Let's make it so abhorrent that anytime you hear it, your ears burn. Your eardrums beat. Anyway, we've been talking a lot about this Charlie Kirk thing. Of course, you don't know if you've been under a rock. Charlie Kirk was killed on the 10th. He was shot. Immediately, it was 200 yards away. A search ensued for the killer. There was all kinds of speculation that this person could have been a Mossad agent. It could have been set up. And, of course, the MAGA crowd comes out and says, oh, it's a left-wing liberal nut conspiracy, and and of course some of the white boys started marching, and we gonna kill them, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that, and they've killed her. And then of course all these white people are getting on social media and crying about how the left-wing people had killed Charlie Kirk and it was conspiracy and all of that other crap. And I was like, and I have the benefit of sitting back post all of the trauma, because this is why, I tell people all the time, sometimes social media is to our detriment, because everybody wants to get the story out now. Everybody wants to be that reporter. Well, you all have to understand, if you've done any real journalism, which I would say about 98% of y'all on social media have never done journalism. You know how I know? Because I can look at your damn post. Before you start throwing things out there, you need to verify stuff, okay? You know what I'm saying? You need to verify stuff. So let me give you an example. Y'all remember Nancy Mace? Let me pull up what she said, okay? Nancy Mace, and we're going to talk a little bit about Mr. Robinson because he's the shooter, okay? But here's what Nancy Mace said and I'm going to read this to you. Okay. She says, before learning that the shooter was a cisgender far-right white man, okay, this shows you the hypocrisy of the Republican Party, okay? She immediately said, time to bring back the death penalty, okay? That's what she said. Once she learned who it was, and we're going to talk about Mr. Tyler Robinson here in just a moment, we know Charlie Kirk would want us to pray for such an evil and lost individual like Tyler Robinson to find Jesus Christ. We will try to do the same. Oh, I love you, Nancy Mace. You know what I forgot to pull up? Look, this is why I tell you all that Google is a wonderful tool. Let me see if I can find Stephen Miller's wife's comments. And we're going to do this live, but let's do this. Stephen Miller's wife's comments about Charlie Kirk. Let's see if we can find that, because I meant to pull that up real fast. All right. Let's see if this is it right here. No, that was Erica Kirk. I'm looking for Stephen Miller's. Stephen Miller's. Okay, so I'll have to look for that in the break, but I want to pull that up too. All right, because it's important. I know why I did that. So let me go back, because it's important for us to understand about how these people think. We have to pay attention to this. Okay? Because they went crazy, man. They went crazy. They started blaming everybody. And what I didn't show you is I want to talk a little bit about Tyler Robinson. The Republican narrative, it basically just exploded. It collapsed. Here's what was said. My son, his dad, is a Republican for Trump. Most of my family members are Republican. I don't know any single one who's a Democrat. That was his grandmother, Debbie Robinson. She said, I'm so confused. Tyler is the shyest of persons. In the immediate aftermath of the Kirk assassination, Republicans rushed to blame Democrats. Donald Trump, He pointed a finger at the radical left and MAGA influences, including Donald Trump Jr., gleefully embraced that false narrative. Hello? The shooter is a 22-year-old white Mormon man from Utah. And he was a far-right supporter, a white nationalist. Oops, Nick Fuentes. The engravings on the bullet found near to be references to memes popular with Fuentes. Hello? Hello? Oh, by the way, one of the bullet engravements, it said TRN, and that is a stamp by the manufacturer of the bullet. You know what the white supremacists said? And when I say the white supremacists now, I'm talking about the Republican Party. They said it had something to do with trans. It was trans. All of this stuff was coming out. Even Kash Patel, this was a joke, folks. Even Kash Patel had come out while they were doing a live press conference 2 minutes before the press conference and said they had captured this guy. And by the way, you wouldn't have caught him if he wouldn't have turned himself in. That was pretty clear. He had a clean getaway. And you know why he had a clean getaway? Because he was white. He was able to blend into the lily white campus of Utah Valley University. Hello? Kash Patel came out and said, we caught this guy. And a press conference aired live 2 minutes later. They said they had not caught the shooter. This was the head of the FBI. Talking about a comedy of errors. But this guy, Taylor Robinson, was an avid gun enthusiast. So was the family. I think the father was a sheriff. They showed pictures of Taylor Robinson, the gun enthusiast, with all types of rifles and guns and shooting. This is why he could nail Charlie Kirk in the throat from 200 yards away. He was an excellent shooter. And remember, prior to them capturing him, there were multiple experts, at least I looked up multiple experts who were in the field. I didn't know them personally, I just read their accounts. You could do that too, Republican Party and Nancy Mace, who said that this person, anyone could have made this shot from 200 if they were an avid hunter. So that should have narrowed it down. It should have narrowed it down that it was a white person. And certainly when the picture came out in the stairwell, that didn't narrow it down. That hit the bullseye. No pun intended. Okay? Should have narrowed it down. So now we're looking for a white male. And long before we knew his political persuasion and his parents, by the way, white people were ready to throw down. Not all, but that sect that is led by the 34 count felony convicted president. They were ready to throw down. The reason I read the Nancy Mace thing is because that first tweet was prior to her realizing that this was a white person. By the way, you know what? Did you know that there was the death penalty in Utah? Here's what's good. And by the way, it's death by firing squad. Here's what's going to be interesting. Are they going to pursue the death penalty for this white boy who killed their savior? I'm just curious. Because this is going to get really interesting. And see what this exposes? This exposes the pure, unadulterated racism that is in this Republican Party. This is what this exposes. You all were hoping, as a matter of fact, let me go back to a piece that I saw about the governor, Governor Cox. He was on the air a lot that day. Like I told you, I listened to a lot of press conferences that day. One other thing I want to throw out, since y'all like to talk about Charlie Kirk went from making $27,000 a year in 2016 to over $400,000 in 2021. He had an estimated net worth of $12 million at the time of his death. He also accumulated a real estate portfolio worth millions, all done through his inflammatory speeches and propaganda. If Kirk's life represented anything, it's the notion that racism and bigotry sells. Okay? But let me go back to the governor. The governor, he laments. It's crazy. The Utah governor, Spencer Cox, expressed regret on Friday that he was unable to blame Charlie Kirk's assassination on an immigrant. Okay? At the press conference, the Republican governor spoke about the ongoing investigation into the conservative activist's death. For 33 hours, I was, and I'm quoting the governor now, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I hoped for, just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here. Y'all get this, right? Here is the governor of the state of Utah. If you tell me, oh my God, if you all tell me white supremacy is not alive and well in this country, here he was hoping that it wasn't someone white. He was hoping that it was an immigrant. He was just hoping that it was somebody that had melanin in their skin. The governor of Utah, folks. Did you hear what I just said? He didn't want it to be Tyler Robinson, a Utahan, a white person who grew up in a white family, who was, by the way, did you know Utah is 86% white? Oh, and not in Utah, because Utah, oh, by the way, here's what else I forgot to add. He was a Mormon. Oh my God, not a Mormon. Because the majority of the people in Utah are Mormons who grew up in Utah with a 86% white family who voted Republican, where a state voted Republican like what, 80% of the state voted Republican? Can I read that again? Do I have time in this segment? Let me just read that again. Okay? I got to read this again. For 33, and I'm going to try to put it in my sympathetic, empathetic voice. Racism is alive and well in this country. And here is a governor. And no one called him out on this. No one, to my knowledge, to this day has called him out on this. Did he mean, oh, let me read it. I'm sorry. For 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us. That somebody drove from another state, somebody came across from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I hoped. just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here. Could it be that the person that you were praying to, the Spirit, the God, the Lord, or whatever you call him, what do y'all call him in Mormonism? He said, no, player, I ain't doing that. No. And I'm not trying to be sacrilegious. Y'all know me, I'm a science person. So if you're mad, you can scratch your ass and get glad. That's all, y'all. But I digress. Here's the governor of the state of Utah wishing that it would have been a person of color. Boy, it would have really fit their narrative had it been Hispanic. Wouldn't it? It would have really fit their narrative. Boy, they would have been, look, even when they finally captured him, and let me just take that back. Even when Tyler Robinson turned himself in, because they didn't capture him. You know, he gets on the press conference, the governor. We got him. We got him. Cash Patel, I want to thank all the whoso forth, what thou art thou, whoever y'all was, for doing a great job. Huh? If he wouldn't have turned himself in, y'all would have never caught him. So y'all didn't do a damn thing. Except twiddle your thumbs and wonder what you need to do next. Hello? Isn't this amazing? Y'all probably didn't hear this, right? I tell you, we talk about stuff on this show that we go into the details of stuff like this. This governor, this white governor, lamented the fact that the shooter wasn't anybody other than a white boy. Amazing to me. It's hilarious to me. This is how white supremacy works. See, the great thing about this is we can sit and we can look and we can see before our very eyes that white supremacy is alive and well in the United States of America. And anyone who would doubt that is a damn fool. End of story. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna jump into some other things, but this story is tangential to everything that we do today. You're listening to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Barbecue season is here and you're still using that 99-cent goop full of chemical derivatives and high fructose corn syrup for your sauce? Stop, please. Get to ribrub.com now and save your next cookout with an array of all natural rubs and sauces. Start with the Dynamic Rib Dust for seasoning and the Dynamic Rib Rub for flavor, and top off your grilled or smoked masterpiece with Dynamic Rib Juice. Don't forget the Dynamic Pepper Juice for just the right kick for those chicken wings. One other thing, you've got to try the delectably delicious Dynamic Rib Nuts. Can't decide? Order a Dynamic gift box and satisfy all of your cravings. Come on, give me your hand and let me take you to barbecue land at ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, and we'll show you how to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah.
Dynamic Dave for joynetradio.com. I'm inviting all small businesses to contact me at 855-525-5683 and let Joynet Radio set up an advertising package specifically designed with your business in mind. This is a great opportunity for small businesses to get your products on the air. Do you want to get the word out about a new business? Joynet Radio is for you. Do you want to advertise your event or social
gathering? Joinette Radio is for you. Do you preach or teach? Do it right here on joineteradio.com. Call me, Dynamic Dave, at 855-525-5683 or go to joineteradio.com and review our great lineup of shows. Let's help each other and let's get your products in the hands of consumers across the country. Call me, Dynamic Dave, at joineteradio.com at 855-525-5683. I'll talk to you soon.
Coleman's Dynamic Products would like to thank you for all the support you've given us over the years. Our growth could not have happened without your purchases and word of mouth to your friends and family. That says you believe and trust us to provide Coleman's Dynamic Products with no fillers and all natural ingredients. We began with our flagship product, Rib Rub, and now it has expanded into snacks, seasonings, salts, rib juice, and pepper juice. We could not have done it without you. I'm David W. Coleman, founder and president, and I want to personally thank you for the encouraging words and support. Coleman's Dynamic Products will continue to be the best dry marinades, seasonings, and sauces you've ever put in your mouth. That's ribrub.com, RIBBRUBB. And you know what we like to say, bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh, yeah.
Pigskin, check. Round ball, check. Hard ball, check. Hockey puck, check. Burning rubber, check. We got it all on the weekly sports page with David Coleman. What else do you need? Did I say food? Can't have sports without food. What kind of show is this again?
A sports show.
Oh, okay. Pass me those rib nuts.
Yeah, we do have it all and a whole lot more with me, Dynamic David Coleman, on the weekly sports magazine.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. If you'd like to join the show, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We've been talking about the Charlie Kirk murder and its aftermath and some of the underlying racism that is going on surrounding his murder. But I want to take a little time before we do anything else, because what's still on the agenda is the Epstein situation, as well as more things as it relates to Israel. And what I'm seeing on social media, and it seems to be a growing I should say it's a tale of unlikely foes who are coming together to begin to ask questions about the United States relationship with Israel and all of the tax dollars that are being used to support genocide. Last week, if you missed it, if you weren't one of those people who paid attention to the news, Israel launched an airstrike into Qatar. Qatar is the largest army base that is in that area, or I should say military base, by the United States. Qatar is considered an ally. That means that if someone attacks an ally, the United States should go to their defense. Israel, when they launched this airstrike, they did not alert the United States that the airstrike was happening, was going to happen, or had been conceived. Their goal was to try and kill some of the negotiating squad for Hamas. Hamas, who was responsible for the October 7th, 2023 massacre. We've talked about that a lot on the show and its underpinnings. Here is the weird thing about this. I did not know that Qatar had granted diplomatic immunity for Hamas and Taliban. And they used Qatar as a place that everyone considered safe to go and try and negotiate ending hostilities between countries, including Israel. Many people have said Israel doesn't want to end hostilities, especially Benjamin Netanyahu. So they went to this place in order to negotiate. They were going to this place on this day. The Hamas officials, many of them have already been murdered and killed by Israel because Israel wants to kill every Hamas agent. If you know the history of Israel, by the way, many of their leaders were terrorists. Do your history. Israel was created by the Rothschilds. We won't go into that history, but many of those leaders were terrorists. Go do your history. So here's Israel today. They're calling themselves, they want to decapitate Hamas. So they're killing all of the Hamas people. It doesn't matter what country they're in. To this date, Israel has now bombed 7 different countries where they believe Hamas people were there. Okay? Here's the problem. The little nugget that y'all didn't know, that these Hamas people had negotiated or were talking to Donald Trump's people, and they told, and Trump's people, now this was aired on national news. Trump's people told them that there was going to be a meeting and they were supposed to meet them there on the day that Israel bombed the building. Did you hear what I just said? The Trump administration told the Hamas people that they were going to have a meeting, they in the United States, and I'm assuming Israel, were going to meet and told them to go and meet them at this certain time. And the building was bombed. Now, that may not mean anything to you, but that seems pretty suspicious to me. And if I'm Hamas or anyone else for that matter, because here's the other thing that you got to throw into the cookie jar. Remember when Israel bombed Iran? Or remember when the United States bombed Iran? Donald Trump said it was going to be 2 weeks. We're going to see what happens. 3 days later, they were bombing Iran. Are we seeing a pattern here? That the Trump administration is running roughshod over the law and letting Israel do the same. And why is it that he's letting them do that? That's a good question. Some are suggesting that it has to do with Israel and the Mossad. What? Israel and the Mossad? What are you talking about, David? Do y'all remember a couple of weeks ago, it's been about a month ago now, the Israeli ambassador that was caught in Las Vegas trying to solicit sex from a 15-year-old girl? He was arrested and they allowed him to go back to Israel where he cannot be extradited. Y'all remember that? There are rumors that Israel is all over this stuff. There are rumors that one of the major donors was part of the Epstein situation. Okay? There are rumors. You doubt that? Let me just, because I got receipts. You know what I'm saying? I got receipts. Let me find that real fast. All right? Because this is dangerous, what is happening. And the questions have got to be asked now more than ever. Why are we so wedded to a country that clearly doesn't have our interest at heart and is bombing our allies? One of the biggest donors to the Republican Party and Mike Johnson is Mr. Paulson. Did you hear what I said? He is one of the people, okay? He runs a $2 million hedge fund. His name is John Paulson. Hello? And he's a big supporter of Israel. Remember the Adelsons, the old woman that Donald gave the Medal of Freedom to? Remember them? They are too. They are big donors. And it is rumored that the father, or the male of that, the patriarch of that family, is in the book as well. Now, I saved all this because there is an interesting thread that is going around about Charlie Kirk. Some believe that Charlie Kirk was waking up. And I have seen video of him talking about they need to release the Epstein files. Some want to pretend that this was a setup for him to be killed because of all of the people that are going to be exposed by the Epstein files. Okay? So we can't forget about this. We can't, and maybe because, see, the media alone has been reluctant to really go full bore on this. They are finally now, but they had an opportunity 20 years ago, but didn't, because of the people that were involved. They were afraid. So, does this have anything to do with the Mossad and Israel? And I don't know. I'm one of those people that I don't pull on conspiracy threads. I just don't. I don't have a tinfoil hat. I just, I believe the earth is round and not flat. I believe that we went to the moon. I believe that Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 is still passing through other solar systems. I believe that. So I can't think that someone, the Mossad or whomever. But here's the interesting thing about it, is just listening to some of the experts that are out there, that the rifle that he used was typical, and look, I don't have a 30-06 rifle, the Moser, I believe that's what it's called. Difficult to break down. And the video that I've seen that is supposedly legitimate from news sources, he made the shot, he climbed down, he being Tyler Robinson, climbed down off the building, and it didn't look like he had a backpack with him. It didn't look, when they showed the picture of him in the stairwell, it didn't look like he had the rifle with him then. The rifle was found in a wooded area off campus. You see how these things can start festering, so to speak? Off campus. They have text messages of him calling a friend, telling a friend to go pick up the weapon. There are all kinds of weird things that happen with this. But my point is that people are going to start spending it that way. But let's get back to Epstein. You do realize that they released 18,000 emails from Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell last week? And do you understand that this woman is a bald-faced liar? Now, how stupid does Todd Blanche and Donald Trump look after they went down to Florida, had this woman make a statement like she is a victim, she don't know anything about it, da-da-da-da-da-da, and then you uncover these 18,000 emails, 200 of them specifically are between she and Epstein. By the way, Donald Trump was mentioned in these 18,000 emails 3 times. There's a whole nother treasure trove coming, by the way. And he's asking her, he being Epstein, he's asking Ghislaine Maxwell, how should he bargain? Now, here is a woman who was intimately, oh, by the way, they were talking about fertility. She wanted to have his baby. Wait a minute. You were just Jeffrey's assistant? You didn't facilitate any of those, even though these women have come forward and said you were the facilitator, you oftentimes were the person that enticed them with the $200. Ghislaine Maxwell. So my question is, what the hell is Donald Trump hiding? What are you hiding, dude? Come on, big boy. Just let it go. Ghislaine Maxwell, and oh, by the way, now she's in a cushy little prison. I saw a video of a guy, brother that was online, whom his aunt lives basically next door to the prison. The area where the prison is, he said, we grew up, prison life was part of my life, not because I was in it, because we grew up around prisons. There are 4 prisons in the area where he grew up in Texas. And you know what they have as a barrier is nothing more than a chain link fence that looks like it's about 9 feet tall, and they've got privacy covers on the fence. That's it. There's no barbed wire at the top. If I wanted to escape, I just run and climb the fence and get the hell out of there. So the Trump administration is looking pretty bad. And I think most people are beginning to believe now that you're hiding something. It's just not MAGA folks anymore. It's everybody. And the question is, that goes back to Mike Johnson, is John Paulson part of this cover-up, who is a mega donor to the Republican Party and a mega donor to the Speaker of the House? This is why all of this stuff needs to be exposed. This is why I've been telling you all for the longest that if this person is a billionaire, is a millionaire, you should not be voting for them. This stuff is disgusting, man. And the more you dig, the badder it stinks. This is crazy. That's not a conspiracy theory. By the way, the name Paulson, that is not something I pulled out of the air. That is not something that somebody said on a third-party website that was trying to keep it hush-hush. This was said in a news conference by Thomas Massie, who is a United States congressman. And you know why Thomas Massie said what he said, exposed one of the donors? Is because this same donor is running $1 million ads in Thomas Massie's district to try and unseat him because he refuses to play ball with the thug in chief for the Republican Party, Donald J. Trump. So this is not coming from some third party source. This is coming, oh, by the way, who was part of the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, he being Thomas Massie. Hello? We cannot allow current events take our eyes off the prize. And we need to know what he knew. We need to know who you are covering up for. We need to know who were the rich fat cats who were sleeping with children. And I know some of you all think it's okay because you have a history. Don't you, George Washington? Don't you, Thomas Jefferson? Don't you, all of you presidents and state representatives and council people and sheriffs and overseers and plantation owners, all of you have a history of sleeping with little girls. Don't you? You see, this is why a lot of them don't think it's a big deal. Oh, that's part of our history. No big, they probably have a cognac and a cigar over it. Disgusting. Remember, Epstein had pictures in his plane, in his offices, in his houses, and these people went into these houses and never objected. Man, why you got that picture of that naked little girl up here? And now they think we're idiots because now the letter comes out. You first called the letter a lie. He didn't make the letter. And then when the letter, you said you sued the New York Times, Wall Street Journal for $10 billion and said, hey, no, they're just lying. Now you said that was, then the letter comes out, the actual letter from the book that was from the Epstein estate. And now you're saying that's not his signature. So now you think we're stupid. You want to say that the letter that was put in the book 20 years ago, someone forged Donald Trump's signature then, knowing that Donald Trump would turn from a Democrat to a Republican and become elected president twice. And then this would come out and then Epstein would get caught and convicted. And this would come out. And you're telling me that that's not Donald Trump's signature. Even when you go and you look at many of the other documents that Donald Trump signed with the very same signature, now you're saying we're really stupid. Come on, people. We can't let them do this. Anybody that's part of this cover-up needs to be voted out of office. And at this point, that's every damn Republican that you can see. Oh, I'm sorry. Every damn Republican you can see. Because these are thugs. This is thuggish behavior. That you know in your heart of hearts that there is something stinks to high heaven and you won't even do anything to even do an investigation. You're running interference for a man who is probably by far, and I won't say he's the worst president that we've ever had, because I keep thinking about Andrew Jackson. And I keep thinking about Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and all them presidents who had slaves. If you had slaves, you're at the bottom of the list. Can you have like a 1 A, B, C, D, E, F, G, L, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z? All of them on that line. Every one of them. I can't have a 1 and a 2. But we got a Republican Party who is covering up for by far the worst president or one of the worst presidents in the history of this country. And you mean to tell me that they are leaders? You mean to tell me that these are the types of people that you want to put up as a role model? The very same people who is sowing the seeds of hate. And now they're upset because their very hate caused one of their dear leaders, one of their princes, to be cut down because of their hate by one of their own. Come on, folks. We got to do better. We'll take our last break. When we come back is what we must do. You're listening to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Barbecue season is here and you're still using that 99-cent goop
full of chemical derivatives and high fructose corn syrup for your sauce? Stop, please. Get to ribrub.com now and save your next cookout with an array of all natural rubs and sauces. Start with the Dynamic Rib Dust for seasoning and the Dynamic Rib Rub for flavor, and top off your grilled or smoked masterpiece with Dynamic Rib Juice. Don't forget the Dynamic Pepper Juice for just the right kick for those chicken wings. One other thing, you've got to try the delectably delicious Dynamic Rib Nuts. Can't decide? Order a Dynamic gift box and satisfy all of your cravings. Come on, give me your hand and let me take you to barbecue land at ribrub.com. That's RIBBRUBB.com, and we'll show you how to bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us if you'd like to join the show. I just want to remind you that we can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and my right to exist. This segment is called What We Must Do, and what we must do is be vigilant. Okay? That means we need to pay attention to what's going on in America. We need to pay attention why a racist president will send the troops into black communities that are crime-ridden, yet refuse to do the same to white communities. We have to remember that Charlie Kirk, whom they champion, was a bigot and a racist. And we cannot allow them to color what he really was. We have to support black media. Black media is important. Black media tells the truth. You see, let me read this to you real fast. The leftist students in Utah who didn't want Charlie Kirk to speak did what leftists do. They signed petitions, staged a protest, and lined up to challenge him. The right-winger who didn't want Charlie Kirk to speak did what right-wingers do and shot him. You get this, right? This is Charlie Kirk. This is what they're trying to keep you from understanding. And only black media will speak truth to power. And those of you out there who are part of the media stratosphere, those of you with podcasts who are trying to do the right thing by speaking truth to power, I applaud you. We have to start delivering under one message. I cannot ever think I am a product of the civil rights era, a direct descendant. All of us are products of the civil rights era. But I'm a direct descendant because I grew up around the corner from many of the Little Rock Nine. I grew up with one of the sisters of the Little Rock Nine. I graduated from the very school the Little Rock Nine decided that they were going to integrate. I am a proud graduate of that high school, Little Rock Central. I am confused here. I don't understand how you are not paying attention. You have got to start waking up and understanding what's going on here. And what is going on is a danger to our community. Did you know that the New York Yankees had a moment of silence for a racist? The New York Yankees? Did you know, and I didn't see it, but I was informed that the Green Bay Packers at the game with the Green Bay Packers and the Washington Commanders, that they had a moment of silence for a racist? What? Are y'all crazy? Do y'all not get this? They are practicing white supremacy right in our faces, and you all are not paying attention. So one of the other things we got to do, we got to wake the hell up. Don't be afraid to speak truth to power. Don't be afraid to stand up for what is right. This thing is ridiculous. Charlie Kirk. I was watching Michelle Norris, and she was interviewing Matt Schlafly. If you get a chance, go out and read or listen to that interview. How are you trying to allow them to make racism normal? By the way, did you know that Susan Collins voted against making the Epstein files public? And she got a $2 million campaign contribution. I'm just saying, folks, they're laughing in our faces. They're laughing in our faces. Here's the irony. That both of the founders, and Kirk was founder of Turning Points USA. Both of them died from something that was preventable. This is the irony of the death of Charlie Kirk. But they mocked and ignored the rest of the nation. Bill Montgomery died of COVID in 2020 after mocking mask wearing, and Charlie Kirk was killed just recently by guns he tirelessly insisted were not a problem. He didn't care. He didn't care. Okay? He didn't care. That's what we need to make sure. And you notice what I do is I post Kirk stuff now, and I'm posting Trump stuff and Epstein stuff. Okay? Here's what Donald Trump said. He was asked, how do you fix this country? How do we come back together? You're asking the person that tore it apart, who was a facilitator. Here's what he said. I'll tell you something that is going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. That's your president. By the way, you remember a white boy killed Charlie Kirk, and what did they do? They sent bomb threats to HBCUs. Yeah, this is just unbelievable, man. Are y'all following this? Are y'all following this? It is just amazing to me. I keep telling you guys, you gotta wake up. You gotta start shopping at black businesses. You can't just simply accept and turn the other cheek. You don't have to use violence. They're gonna use the violence. But you got to call them out on this. And you cannot allow the local and national media to get away with the whitewashing of American history as well as this dumb. Look, at the end of the day, when this guy has a press conference and he sits there and lies, you ought to be calling him out on that. Y'all should not be just simply taking it. I didn't know that this press secretary, who claims to be such a Christian, married a man almost 30 years older than her because they slept together and she got pregnant. And she had a baby out of wedlock? Not Caroline, no, you're just kidding me. Y'all see this false narrative that they're playing on you? I didn't know that until yesterday. Now, women have babies out of wedlock all the time. But here's a woman that is trying to be holier than thou and judge people based on the person she represents, who is a 34-count convicted felon, an adjudicated sexual assaulter, and a potential pedophile who is hosting a cover-up of another pedophile. Folks, we got to be vigilant. We got to start using common sense. We got to start working together. Because the reaction that they had with this shooting, they were ready to go out and lynch some of y'all. You know, that day I carried my pistol around with me. I'm going to tell you, you better be carrying yours. Because even with all of these facts that have now come out about who the killer was, how he, oh, by the way, the 16-year-old in Colorado, in Denver, who was a white supremacist, who was worshiping white supremacist ideology, and of course this 22-year-old grown man who was a Republican, voted Republican. Regardless of all the facts that came out, these people were ready to shoot and kill black on sight. And some of them will not even admit that they were wrong. You remember Elizabeth Hortman? You remember her? You remember she and her husband? You know, they were the two Minnesota legislators that were murdered in their beds. A second legislator was shot by a man who had a hit list of over 65 Democrats. I didn't hear a damn word about the tragedy and how horrible that was. I didn't hear the president say, we're going to give those people a Medal of Freedom. I didn't hear the president say that he was going to lower the flags to half staff. In fact, I didn't even hear the president send his condolences to the families of those people that were murdered by one of his followers. Hello? You see, they don't give a damn about you. You got to be vigilant. You got to wake up. We got to start having these conversations. We got to start understanding how we can protect ourselves from these people who clearly want a race war. That these people that are clearly in charge of the president, the Congress, the Supreme Court. We've got to have these conversations. Remember the deacons of defense? They were not there to pursue, to assault, to kill. They were there to defend black people, just like the Black Panthers. You remember the Black Panthers. Remember, they were there to protect us. And many of them were killed or jailed. Yet the KKK lives on. I heard a report from an FBI agent earlier today, and he was talking about that domestic terrorism is the one thing that the United States needs to be concerned about more than anything else. Do y'all remember 1995 and the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City? Do y'all remember that white man who killed all of those people and blew up half the building? Timothy McVeigh. He was a domestic terrorist, but for a long time, and even today, they refuse to refer to Timothy McVeigh as a domestic terrorist. Do you remember David Koresh? Do you remember Ruby Ridge? Do you remember all these white men who decided that they were going to take the government into their hands just like they did on January 6th? Those were, oh, by the way, those on January 6th, those domestic terrorists were pardoned by Donald J. Trump. And as I close the show today, I'm going to say just like Malcolm says, the chickens have come home to roost. And no, I don't feel sorry for Charlie Kirk. And I hope he's down there looking up at us. And just, man, I hope you didn't carry your gasoline drawers with you. If there's a hell, you belong there, because you have done nothing more than sow seeds of bigotry and hatred. And anyone who calls that out is not racist. That's just a fact. And if you're mad, Where you mad? By the way, Lyndon Johnson, your quote worked. What you said, you pitted blacks, poor blacks against poor whites. And this is what it has wrought. This is what it has wrought. And then I got to close with the, look, I'm going to tell you like this. I am not going to agree. I'm not going to break bread. I'm not going to shake your hand. Go back and listen to the show I did last week about the alien that I met. The black boy with the Make America Great hat. I wish I could see him now and see how they would have killed him because of Charlie Kirk. We can agree. We can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and my right to exist. That's what I stand on. And until you, and you know who I'm talking about, view me as a human being and afford me with the same privileges that you have, we have nothing to talk about. Y'all have a great day. I hope you enjoyed the show. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. On joinnedradio.com.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on joinnedradio.com.